Hello and welcome to the first On the Other Hoof broadcast of 2015. We hope you had a brilliant Christmas and an even better New Year, and we hope you can remember most of it. Callum can't, he got absolutely
Wasted.
No, he didn't. Welcome to On the Other Hoof anyway. We've got a good card tomorrow at Sandown, an interesting one at Wincanton we'll give it, but we'll be focusing mostly on Sandown. All the Channel 4 races will be covered here by us at On the Other Hoof, joined tonight by Adam Webb and Callum Adele. How were your Christmas, Adam?
Indifferent, I'll describe it. It was okay for some parts, and other parts I'd rather not talk about. Less said, the better.
What did you get for Secret Santa? I forgot.
I got a Tifa-free wristband, which I thought I'd lost, but I've just looked across and I found it, which is I thought I'd lost it earlier, and I got a mug as well, which is over here.
Did any of them things sort of go towards your Christmas and help you out on Christmas Day?
No. I've still got them. They're for me. I mean, the Barbie doll last year should have gone to somebody else, but...
Good work. Well, I watched Heathcote win the Schweppes about 6 times.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it contributed towards my Christmas. We haven't actually opened the table football yet. That will be done after this show, I imagine. Yeah. But it is sitting right over there. But we're glad that you guys are joining us. We hope that you had a good Christmas. We're going to crack on with the Sandown card. Well, the first race of Sandown, the 150, which is the 32redsport.com handicap chase, a 2-mile chase. Mr. Mole is your 11-4 favourite here, Adam, but you're not totally convinced by him, are you?
I'm not totally convinced. I mean, he did it well at Exeter last time out. But Paul Nicholls has said since But Paul Nicholls has said since then he needs time between his races, and he felt that I know this is a small field, but small like 3-4 runner races would suit him. Something like the game spirit down the line would suit him really well. And I just think he'd have to bowl along in front, and around Sandown he's going to have to be at his A game tomorrow. And the one I'd like to take him on with is Williams Wishes, who's come back this year, and he ran a really nice race, I thought, at Single Creek. He obviously wasn't up to that level, but I think he's still interesting in handicap purposes, and I think he can put it up to Mr. Mole and potentially beat him. The other one that I gave a look to was Dance Floor King, who jumped really well at Ascot last time out, and is unbeaten over fences as well. And he is definitely going the right way as well, but whether he's in this level yet, I'm not sure. So Williams Wishes it is for me.
Been at the handicap as well, Dance Floor King tomorrow off bottom weight. I've always sort of had a soft spot for Mr. Mole. Obviously, he's been called every name under the sun, especially when throwing away the Swinton at Haydock. You just take a Snapchat. We're Snapchatting now. Mr. Mole, when throwing away the Swinton at Haydock behind Barazan, who really obviously should have won that day. Anyone could see. But since then, he's been ridden by Tony McCoy 6 times. He's won 3 of them all over fences as well, and some of them were pretty hard tasks when running against the likes of Rock on Ruby and falling at the last, when well held in the Grand Annual back end of last season. But he seems to be going the right way, and it was an impressive performance last time. I didn't think a small field with no pace in would suit him whatsoever, so he cut out his own pace, and there were still signs that he had a few quirks there, but on the whole he did it quite nicely. So if he can adopt the front running tactics again, or even sit in, it would just be interesting to see how he's progressed into a 7-year-old and see if he's actually got rid of any of them unusual tendencies, we'll call them, that he had last season. And 11-4, I think, is a fair price for him. He's a horse that could just be a lot better than his mark if he knuckles down and puts everything into the race. Desert Cry is one that I'm always interested in when the ground gets a bit softer, but after a break of 266 days in Wilson Rennick on board, you'd have to be a bit tentative about him, his chances, but he has run well here at Sandown before, and Parsnip Pete, I think, is one that we've both been fans of at some point, but on flatter tracks probably.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, he was a big price the other day when he ran, was it Cheltenham, I think he ran, and again he looks a big price here, and I don't really understand why he's consistently a big price, but it puts me off with a horse like him, where I think when the money's down, he's the kind of horse that will land yards. Maybe he's a little bit just too high in the handicap at this stage.
Yeah, so you're with Mr. Mole as well, are you?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously got his quirks, but was really impressive last time out and posted a really good time in doing so, beating Brick Red, and only £3 to give to that horse. I think he'll confirm that form. Maybe I'm sure he'll go out and try and dominate this field, and I think he'd be really tough to catch. And Marcus got it pretty spot on, to be honest. I think Williams Wishes is the obvious danger. I mean, I always remember when he won here, it was a couple of seasons back now, when he won over this course and distance, he absolutely bolted up. He made a horrible mistake, I think final fence, and then came right back on the bridle, or second last.
Yeah, I remember actually. Yeah,
came right back on the bridle and won comfortably. And if he's back to his best, and I thought he ran really well in the Tingle Creek, like Adam said, then he's a major danger. Just depends.
He's had his problems as well, though.
Yeah, he
He has had his problems without doubt. I mean, he's only been seen 3 times in the last 2 seasons, so he's clearly got his problems. And Mr. Mole, if he goes out in front, I think he'll be really tough to catch. So, like I said, I think the Marcus got it right, but Mr. Mole, I think, will win.
Yeah, he's always been a horse that's promised to be a lot better than his mark suggests, but he has got a few quirks that would just hold him back. And if they can erase them from his running, then he could still be a better horse than 147.
Yeah. One more quick point I want to make on Williams Wishes was at Haydock, his owner, I think, had a share in On Tour who won. And Gordon Brown asked the owner about Williams Wishes, and she said, as long as he comes back safe and sound in the morning, his legs are fine, then that's the main aim of Haydock. And obviously he came out of that well enough to run as well as he did in the Tingle Creek. So obviously he may be over his problems now, but he's still, I think it's a race-by-race thing with him. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Again, on his day, he'd be a horse that'd be well up to winning this kind of race. I forgot to mention at the start, I'm out of practice with this, that you can get in touch with us and send your questions and fancies in. If you're new to the show, if you're even old to the show and have never got in touch with us before, you can tweet us at On The Other Hoof, and we'll read out every question, fancy, at the end of the show, and we'll try and answer every question to the best of our ability. We're down to Wincanton for the next 205. Is our next border called the Bathwick Ties Yeovil Novices Limited Handicap Chase, which is not a tongue twister whatsoever. 2 mile 4 and 110 yards, a field of 11 runners go to post. It's a harder one this time, I'd say. Adam, you're a bit of a fan of Atlantic Roller, though, aren't you?
I am, because he's had his problems, and I was trying to remember that there was something about him that I remembered, and I realised that he had an accident in his horse box, and it's taken him plenty of time to recover from it. And he was disappointing, obviously, on his chasing debut, but he's been given plenty of time by Paul Nicholls. And I think the mark he's got is interesting. And if all them problems are now gone, I think he will be the one to beat. Viva Steve ran okay, I thought, last time out at Newbury behind, I want to say the revitalised Jeffrey Chambertin, but I still wouldn't trust him, even though he made a mockery of the field at Newbury. The other one I'd like to give a mention to is Crazy Jack, who is owned by, got a share is Ollie Bell, who same colours as the Rainbow Hunter, and I can see him going well, but I think they'd want better ground for him. Atlantic Roller, I think, is a likely winner, and I think Paul Nicholls could have a really good day at Wincanton. He's got some very nice horses there, and he could easily leave with at least a free timer tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, I think Crazy Jack's one of the more interesting ones in the field. He looked progressive 2 or 3 runs ago, and disappointed slightly last time out. Roberto Pegasus is one that I've been interested in for a while, actually. He had a few, I think it was leg problems earlier on in his career. He goes on softer ground, but he was a useful hurdler. He was going in the right direction when he made his comeback and then dropped a few pounds on handicap. They try and chasing with him now. He's a pretty good jumper of a hurdler overall. Wayne Hutchinson takes the ride, who had a relatively good record on him without winning last season. So on the grounds, I'd be willing to give Roberto Pegasus a chance for Alan King and Wayne Hutchinson. Atlantic Roller, I get your point on completely, Adam. I think you're dominating the Paul Nicholls runners tomorrow, aren't you?
I am, but Atlantic Roller actually isn't one of them. He just didn't really convince me totally. I mean, he's clearly had problems, and he is the unknown quantity of the race, really, but I think I'd probably leave it. Likewise as yours, Roberto Pegasus, a 9-year-old, flatbred, going over fences. I couldn't really have on my mind.
It wouldn't be a bet. It would.
No.
It would be. Let's try and get this race out of the way as quick as possible.
I think I quite like Viva Steve, to be honest. I think he's the kind of horse that wants around this sort of trip, but a real stamina emphasis on it. And I don't think he really saw out 3 miles last time, albeit in a much better race to this anyway. Before then was a decent second to Shantou Magic, and he's a fairly decent horse. So around this trip, with stamina a key, don't think he sees out. more than this. That well. So I think he'll find tomorrow ideal. So I think 9-2, pretty fair on him.
Yeah, it's not the easiest race to.
It's a crap race.
Yeah.
It's just dreadful.
It's not.
There's a 40 grand handicap at Lingfield, which should be on Channel 4.
We had this discussion last year. I remember. During the last year when we had the discussion about this, and we were saying that the morning line should be on the M25 going to Lingfield in the booth they've got.
Yeah.
I remember. That was good. That.
Yeah, but I don't. Well, whether they actually be able to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but the idea sounded good, but
the idea was brilliant, but
to pull it off, I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I think the two things that stand out is the feature race of the day, the 32 red Tolworth Hurdle. It's a Grade 1 for novices of 2 mile and 110 yards, and you've had a runner in this before.
Yeah, 3 years ago now. That was a really good day, and don't get me wrong.
I'm sorry. Disappointing turnout here of only 4 runners, but it's a field that looked fairly classy. Lammy Surge is one that's expected to go on to bigger and better things in the form of his Jerry Fielden performance last time is shaping out very nicely with the likes of Kilcooley and Violet Dancer boosting that. Since Jolly's Cracked It and Shelford are no slouches in their own right, though, Adam. With the odds-on favourite here or against?
I'd be with him. The thing is, he'll win this, and then he'll be Nicky Henderson's umpteenth placed horse in the Supreme. So I think he's done nothing wrong in this country, and I was against him on debut just at the fact in France he'd always travel well through his races, and then off the bridle he wouldn't find very much. And then he's come over here and he made a mockery of that handicap mark in the Jerry Field, and he was so impressive that day. Now at Ascot, I still think he would have beaten Emerging Talent, who came down at the second last. But it would have been a more interesting race had he stood up. I think he should win tomorrow. Jolly's Cracked It. Oh, he needs to jump better. That's one thing I've got against him. He will be better over a fence, like most of these will next year. Shelford is another one. But the thing with Shelford, I don't think they'd want to finish that close with him, because I think he'd be better over further in a really strongly run handicap. Something like the Coral Cup would play to his strengths big time, and they could, if he does blow them out tomorrow, he's worth a go in. I know this is a Grade 1, but he wouldn't be out of place in a Cheltenham novice hurdle like the Supreme or even the Neptune. So Lammy Surge wins it. Fair play to the outsider for coming here and picking up £2,000 for finishing 4th. But all I can really say is I think Lammy Surge should be winning tomorrow.
Yeah, whether I'd want it will be a no bet race for me, but whether I'd want to take 1-2 about Lammy Surge. Obviously, he's impressed greatly this season, but Jolly's Cracked It's a horse that I've quite liked this season. Since he switched to Harry Fry's stable, he's 3 from 3. Last time out, as Adam said, he's got his jumping difficulties. The second last, he absolutely battered it, and then went right at the last and wasn't really helping Nick Schofield out at all. Horse that ran quite a nice race in the Ladbroke called Jebril in second. He's much better than that. Obviously, Shelford on the collateral form would be well ahead of Jolly's Cracked It on that. But I'd be surprised if Jolly's Cracked It isn't better than that form suggests of last time. Clondall Bank is also a nice horse, was back in third. Shelford, I completely get your reasoning, and I don't know if you're putting Shelford. You're a fan of Shelford, I know that.
Yeah.
He ran a much better race last time out in the Ladbroke, saying that he was up there helping force the pace with Balgary and managed to stick around. I think if he gets his own way out in front tomorrow, that could play into his hands and he could make this a real stamina test, especially around a stiffer track like Sandown. But Lammy Surge would be the one that they really do have to beat. It was a decent count of 8 that he won last time. Obviously, Adam mentioned Emerging Talent falling at the second last, so we don't know whether how strong that form would have been, but it would take a good one to beat Lammy Surge tomorrow, but 1-2 wouldn't really be a price that I'd be willing to take. 92 around Shelford's what you're looking at the moment.
I think 92 is quite fair on Shelford, to be honest. And form of his Chepstow, well, both those Chepstow wins look pretty solid to me, especially Busan winning it somehow, albeit in a very different test. But last time out, he ran an absolute screamer considering how close he was up with that pace, which was really strong, set by him and Balgary. And obviously, I mentioned Balgary in a bit, but Shelford, I thought ran an absolute screamer there, and is better value for actually, only being beaten 3 lengths in a Ladbroke Hurdle. So I'm sure he'll be ridden to good use tomorrow as well, and that could catch quite a few of these out. And the 2 that actually got a chance out, it will definitely catch out. The Lord be with you. But Lamy Surge, I think, he more than deserves to be favourite. That form is looking pretty strong, especially with Kilcooley. But 1 to 2 is on the shorter side. Henderson's got a good record in the race as well, so he more than deserves to be favourite. I am against Jolly's Cracked here, who has to jump better.
Yeah.
And the form of both those Ascot races has taken knocks. I mean, the second from both races have been beaten. Jebbrell quite well beaten. I know Wilbur Dragon's come out and won, but that was well beaten on the day.
Jebbrell ran a much better race than his placing suggests in the Ladbroke. He was a long way back and made a lot of ground at the wrong time of the race. Sort of just before the turn for home, really. His jumping wasn't amazing in the Ladbroke. It wasn't anything that was noteworthy, but I think he ran a much better race than his placing suggests, and especially for an outsider. He came 9th out of the 18, but at the second last, he looked like he could play a hand in the finish and just sort of petered out when probably the better horses quickened in front of him.
Yeah, but I mean, I was trying to think of the Huntington race before with Acklin.
Yeah.
I mean, that looked okay on paper, but it was just 120 horses, and he's finished 8 lengths 5th.
It was a messy race.
Acklin came from the clouds, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I don't rate that form whatsoever. I think the horse is a decent prospect, but he's without doubt the one I fancy the least, bar the absolute outsider. Of the 3, he's the least I fancy without doubt, and I'd have Shelford shorter than 9 to 2, because I think he'll go out in front and it'll take a good one to catch him. It really will. And I'm sure Lamy Surge will be up to doing that, but 9 to 2, 1 to 2, I'd certainly rather be on Shelford.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Barry Geraghty rides Lamy Surge tomorrow. Imagine they'd want to keep him up with Shelford and not let him get out of his sight. So
Adam was making the point also, because I haven't really seen his races in France, but if you're saying he didn't really come off the bridle.
Yeah.
He did come off the bridle, but when he came off the bridle, he either
when he came off the bridle, he didn't show much. He hasn't been off the bridle, arguably, in 2 starts. So we haven't really seen what he's got to offer under pressure fully. So maybe he gets caught out tomorrow. You never know.
He could. But as you said, Henderson has a good record in this race. Tolworth winners don't have a good record at the Cheltenham. Well, I say at the Cheltenham Festival, they don't have a good record in the Supreme. But the last horse I think that won here and then went on to win at the festival was Monsignor. Poor old Monsignor, who had the world at his feet and then never appeared again. And that
Adam seemed to do that.
Now the classic. There is a classic joke. The classic joke every season. There's a classic joke of every season that you ask for a horse to follow. You say, "Oh, that Monsignor's catching pigeons on the gallops," and it was because he never appeared after his novice hurdle campaign. Always had niggling problems, and then was the racehorse that the Kipco racehorse. He was one, and he's sadly no longer with us.
You say Monsignor was the last Tolworth Hurdle winner to win at the festival, did you say?
I could be wrong. I think it's... Oh, Nolan. He's the only one then that won that, and then went on to win the Supreme. That's the only one I can remember now.
I just enjoy proving Adam wrong. I apologise to you for that. We'll move on swiftly to the 240 win Kansas. The Bathwick Tyres Pool Handicap Hurdle of 2.5 miles, a field of 11 again go to post. We're going to start with you this time. You're a fan.
Wow.
Yeah, you've actually got a fancy in this though that you mentioned earlier, so I'm helping you out with this one because usually Adam would steal a fancy.
Well, again, I think the Nichols too. We're all talking about this race, yeah.
Yeah,
I wasn't really listening because I was so unexpected there, to go first. The Nichols too are the key in this race. Earth Moves related to Petit Zig, but Provo coming off a year absence. If he's fit and ready. I think he could be the total fly in the ointment in this race. I wanted to mention the jockey bookings. I don't know what. We were talking about it before, but I don't know what Adam thinks about it. But Sam Twist and Davis on Provo, when you kind of expect him to be on Earth Moves, the one that's already won this season, and Provo, I think he's going to be ready tomorrow. Especially if there's going to be any money for this horse, then I really think he wins because he's an absolute standout. If he's in form and ready.
11 to 2 into 9 to 2 at the moment.
I really do. I mean, I was looking at our ratings earlier. I think he's £7 clear on our ratings as well. So, yeah, I'm going to risk him and put him up because bar that, I think he holds the key, Nichols. I think the two of them absolute standout. And Nichols, I think, is going to actually clean up at Wincanton tomorrow. So
it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, probably for me.
Yeah, I really do not know what to make of this race. Ronaldinho is a horse that I followed for a while, but he doesn't really help himself out of being quite keen early on. He's saying that he hasn't really put in too many bad efforts. He's a consistent type, but I don't know. He's a hard horse to place. He's only 5, so he still could be improving. But he's best watched tomorrow. Honestly, am I allowed to not put a selection up? We're not, right?
Oh, he's making On the Other Hoof history. Oh my word.
Okay, I'll tell you what. As a selection, as it's sponsored by Bathwick Tyres, I'm going to go for Sporting Boy Visored First Time.
Okay.
Honestly, I would not touch this race with a barge pole in it. Any line on Kadudov for you?
I don't know. Maybe I think he already wants further. I think he ran a bit better last time out than he needed his return, but it's a tough one. Charlie Deutsch takes off 5, so that helps. I don't think he was on him last time. He might not last time. No, it was Feely last time. So
gonna say that Charlie Deutsch can do anything.
Yeah. He did need that first run. He showed a bit more at Fontwell, or plenty more at Fontwell, but I think he already needs 3 miles, to be honest.
Yeah, so he was a useful juvenile last
that
season.
horse, to be fair, that horse that beat him at Fontwell has actually gone on to win since and beat another Logston horse in the process. So
Charlie hasn't got the measure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no real selection from me. Sporting Boy for fun, but leave it is my advice. Adam, have you got anything better?
I liked Earth Moves, and I think the reason you could argue that the jockey bookings are based on the fact that Nick Schofield actually won on Earth Moves last time out. But then, obviously, as Sam is the first stable jockey, he may have had the choice here. It's between them two, but a bigger price that I will give a second look to is Chase the Wind, who's actually got really good course form at Wincanton. He won a novice hurdle here and was second in the bumper and should go on the ground, and I think he could be overpriced and could easily get a place here. At the front too, Provo does look well handicapped, but I'm more willing to side with Earth Moves just on the basis of that Taunton win where I was really impressed. But it's a close. If Provo is ready, and I agree with Callum, I think he'd probably win, but I'd rather go with Earth Moves on the basis that he's at least had a couple of runs this season and will be race fit.
Yeah, it's not a race for a really strong fancy in. That's my taking anyway. You're quite sweet on Provo. Move back down to Sandown though for the 3 o'clock, the 32 red handicap hurdle over 2 miles, 110 yards. Again, 11 runners, which seems to be the consistent theme along today. Amore Alato is the favourite. Was a useful novice last season, Adam, and put in quite a nice reappearance last time out behind Snake Eyes.
Yeah, he did, and I thought he ran really well that day. And I saw on Twitter, a couple of people saying that they could have given him a go in the Christmas hurdle because he could have easily picked up some nice prize money there by finishing 3rd or 4th. I think it's interesting that they've waited to come here rather than run there, and I think he's definitely the one to beat. One that actually does interest me, I know it's first time out, but Tanaka Emery's got a first time hood, and he's now moved to Philip Hobbs, which I think is an interesting move. I don't know if anybody's got any light on the owners moving all the horses from David Pipe. I know that Edmund King was another one that has moved, Peter Bowen.
I have no idea.
Fair enough. I think Amore Lato is the one to beat, as he'll now be race fit, and I think he's still a well handicapped horse.
Fair enough. I completely agree with Amore Lato. Really impressed me on his reappearance last time. Actually, and Snake Eyes was a fairly easy winner of that race, is one that I'd liked in the Ladbroke before getting pulled out. But as I mentioned earlier, Amore Lato was a useful novice last year, not quite top class, and I was going to be harsh and say he was found out at Aintree, but it was the end of a long season behind Joss's Hill when he was beaten 43 lengths and last of the 10. Before that, however, he pushed Irving to 5 lengths at Kempton. Now, Irving, at that point, was one of the top novices, and probably Kempton is his track. He can obviously wipe away the Christmas hurdle run as he's come out and he's had a few problems since. But Amore Lato was the horse last year that in good novice hurdles was always thereabouts, and sort of ruffling a few feathers of the big boys. So he gets his chances in handicaps this year, and he's been raised £3 for his last effort up to a mark of 140, and Tony McCoy takes the ride. I think 4-1 about him is a more than fair price. If he gets his way out in front as well, he could take some catching. It's a tough nut to crack. Balgari is one that I'm sure is going to be mentioned in a second. For me, obviously he was coming back from a long time off last time out in the Ladbroke, but for me, I've got him down as the David Pite Imperial Cup horse for later on in the season. That's what I'm hoping anyway. So I'd hope for a bit of improvement tomorrow, but not too much. Personally, First Avenue is the past Imperial Cup winner, staying on that theme, but will need, I think, a monsoon to be winning tomorrow. However, it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world at 25-1 if he were to outrun them odds, and may represent each way value. But for the bet, I'd stick with the Morialato, and quite a strong fancy for me at that as well. But Balgari is one that you were on about earlier, isn't it?
Yeah. Just got a dreadful ride.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, just horrendous. I know it was after a long absence, and he didn't go on backs either. So he must have been shown plenty of ability at home, and if he's not ridden so stupidly this time, then I think he's got a major chance of £2 lower to what he was that day. But I think this is the race of the day, to be honest. I think it's a really interesting race, and I can fully understand why Morialato's favourite, because the form of that win here, second here behind Snake Eyes, and Snake Eyes himself is a horse I think we're both very sweet on. But Real Khan's come out and won, and Sleepy Haven. Both finished 4th and 5th that day. They're the only two horses to come out and run since, and both of them have won. So I think that's obviously working out really well. His second behind Irving is less so, because Irving's just rubbish.
That's harsh. That's very harsh.
I want to mention that Paul Nicholls horse, Bovril, who.
That's how you say Bovril in French.
It's
Bovril.
I don't know what to expect. I would mention the fact that Sean Bowen's on would actually put me off here, because if this horse was that thrown in, I don't know why you'd have Sean Bowen on him. I know Sean Bowen's a brilliant jockey for that £5, but
everyone else at Wincanton, aren't they?
Possibly.
Schofield and Twiston Davis are both at Wincanton.
Possibly. He doesn't win. Look, that's my point. Songlight I thought was well worth a chance as well. He's finally got his head in front at Huntingdon last time out, and he's just such a strong travelling horse. It's just whether he's got it into finding off the bridle to win it. But
Clunical that he beat at Huntingdon as well. That's one since at Campton. I think he was the one that beat Violet Dancer, I think, in the last race on the 27th. I was there.
Yes. So
second. It didn't win. It was second.
It beat Violet
Dancer. Oh, no, there. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. I didn't think I'd remembered that wrongly. But yeah, it beat Violet Dancer, which again could be a strong bit of form.
Probably the second. Violet Dancer was second.
Yeah, I know Violet Dancer was second.
Fully aware of that, aren't you?
I'm very fully aware that Violet Dancer was second. Moving on swiftly to the 3:15 at Wincanton. Our last trip to Wincanton today, the Bathwick Tyres Handicap Chase. Over 2 mile, 4 furlongs and 110 yards. 6 runners this time. So break the trend of 11 runners in a field. And we mentioned that Sam Twiston-Davis and Nick Schofield have both gone to Wincanton. And both of them have got rides in this race, with Sam Twiston-Davis on Black River and Nick Schofield riding for Jeremy Scott on Not Half Bad. Black River would have the more outstanding chance out of the two. He's now 6-4. He came with a bit of a big reputation, Adam, after beating Vautour in France. Didn't really go on with that. Yeah. However, he did take a step back in the right direction last time out.
He did. The cheap pieces obviously helped him last time out, and if they have the same side effect here, I think he definitely is the one to beat. The one that I do like in the race, and I think age is no barrier, I think Big Fella Thanks could easily, if he's ready first time out, I think he could even win this. I still think he retains all of his ability, and Wincanton is a track that he's actually gone really well at, and he's won over course and distance as well. I think he will be ready as well tomorrow, just because I think later in the season now, I don't think races like, he shouldn't go back to Aintree for the Topham Trophy anyway, because I thought last year was his chance, and he didn't even get up the running that day. There's something about Aintree, maybe there's something stopping him, I don't know what, but I think Big Fella Thanks will go really well tomorrow. Black River obviously the one to beat, but I'll put Big Fella Thanks up.
Yeah, I see the logic on Big Fella Thanks. Personally, I'd want to see him, watch him for the first time tomorrow before making an assessment over this season. But definitely an interesting one. And Tango de Juillet, I hope, runs well to boost the form of my hopeful Cheltenham handicap horse, Chris P. Green, who beat him last time at Plumpton. But the main fancy in the race is unoriginal. It's a 6-to-1 favourite, Black River, who I think me and you were having a conversation earlier on that he has taken a step back in the right direction. He beat Vautour in France, as again mentioned a bit earlier on, but he just hasn't gone on with that form whatsoever and hadn't really showed much in England to suggest that he was anywhere near the level that Vautour was. Obviously, he didn't do that last time. He took a step back in the right direction, but he'll need to confirm that with the cheap pieces still on. A mark of 134 could still potentially be lenient, but he jumped quite well last time out, and the race was in the process of falling apart around him, but he jumped on and in the end won quite cosily. It looks as if he was a horse that would be winning again soon. There's a bit of money for him as well. As far as I can see, 15-8. It's now 6-4. So I think Black River is definitely the one to beat. Filbert had boasted some decent form last season at some point. The cheap pieces first time, if they get any more improvement out of him, he could be interesting one for Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson, who we welcome back for the first time today, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
His first time back off, going back from his ban. But personally, I'd be fairly disappointed if Black River was getting beat tomorrow after putting in such a positive round last time out. You're also with Black River, aren't you?
Yeah. At that price...
the price is gone, I think it's fair to say.
Was it ever there?
15-8, I think, wasn't the worst price.
15-8, I think, is pretty fair on a horse that, if he has overcome his problems, should win this quite comfortably, because he did look like he was a much better horse last time, and you don't beat a horse like Vautour in France without being pretty decent. So, and obviously he's just not been right. He's just looked a sick horse, or just something amiss with him. Mm. So last time, maybe they've just about sorted him out. If there's any trainer in Britain that will sort out a horse like this, I think it'll be Paul Nicholls. So, yeah, I think Black River. Filbert, I think he probably just about sets a standard. I think he's the most solid one, but I'm not convinced by this trip still. I don't think he really wants 2.5 miles. I think he's a proper 2-miler, and I think he might not see it out fully tomorrow. And he looked a bit... His jumping went to pot when he got quite tired last time out when he was third. And so he doesn't really convince me. Tango de Juillet, and again, he's not a horse I'm convinced is that much better than his mark. Big Fella Thanks obviously won it 2 years ago, but is he ready? Being a 13-year-old coming off
I think he should be. I think he should be, just because of his age. I don't think at this age, I don't think it would be. He'd need a run now to get him ready. I think they get him fit at home type thing.
Would he be? I can't.
I can see it.
To be honest, what mainly puts me off him is the trip. I know he's won over this trip before, but he clearly is better over a little bit further now. Mm. So they're starting, I think, over a trip that's short of his best.
Okay.
If it was over 3 miles this race, then I would probably agree with you. But yeah, I think over this trip, I will take him on. And Black River wins. Personally,
I think he's tripless. He's one of them horses that you think he's going to go well over one trip, and then he looks like he doesn't see it out, and then you drop him back. It's like he'd travel well for 4 miles in the Grand National. I remember when he was a younger horse, I thought he was a proper stayer, and then it turned out he actually had a bit of pace about him. So he deceives a lot. That's the thing about
this actually record around this trip is probably look at it.
I remember his
I mean, you're right, because I've always had in my head, I've always had him as in my mind of this gallantly staying on horse in a beecher chase when actually he's got a bit of pace about him.
I have a good memory about his beginner's chase at Chepstow, which he was third in, and he looked to stay that day as well. And the 2 horses that finished ahead of him were Wichita Lyman and West End Rocker. And you look at that now. I remember that day. I remember looking at Big Fella Thanks and me thinking long ahead into the future. That'll be a Grand National horse one day. Didn't expect it to be that season, no. When he was staying on 6. So he's deceives a lot. So a lovely horse though. I love him for bits. But
I get what you mean by saying he's tripless. He just seems to go well no matter what the trip really. But Yeah, tomorrow I'd be against Big Fella Thanks and say a watching brief tomorrow. The final port of call for today is the 3:35 at Sandown, a 32 race casino handicap chase over 3 miles and 110 yards. I'm going to throw you off under the bus here again.
I'm ready.
Because you've got a fancy at a bigger price.
Yeah, it was. This is one of those races where you look at it and it's through a stage of elimination where you get to, like, I mean, I sourced it through odds, so I got to the top one and I kept going down through the odds, and then because I got to the last one, which is the 25 to 1 shot, and actually couldn't totally rule it out that I might actually put it up. It's On Trend, who is still the 25 to 1 outsider of this field. Reasonings. He's very well handicapped on the best of his form. He won here a couple of years ago off, I think, 1-3-4. The race, looking back at it, wasn't the best. But what really put me off mainly in the end was the fight. Easy five found out the handicap, and I hate backing horses out of the handicap. But there's so many unconvincing horses in this. There's a lot of form figures coming into it that are good, but at a much lesser grade. And I'm really not convinced by anything in this field, particularly the favourite Union East. I think it's a dreadful price. Wasn't really impressing the Hennessy. I thought he looked really laboured, and he has done previously as well. And he's becoming a bit of a disappointing horse for me, Union East. I mean, when he won the December Gold Cup, he looked a chaser going places, and I think he's taken a backward step from then on, really. Relax and Count Guido Dero. Count Guido Dero was the main one I thought was interesting. Remains unexposed, and could have a lot more to offer with Jamie Barbary taking off 7. Relax. He's got soft enough ground, but I'd be all over him if it's heavy ground. It isn't. So Trilla Dalane maybe. Interesting stat. Nicky Henderson has only had 4 chase winners in the past 6 months.
I think that noise I just made would be a Steve Mellish one that you said later on. Sorry.
Did I make a noise?
No, me. I was like, we'll watch it back later.
Oh, right. I thought you meant
that was my disapproval of Trilla Dalane.
Yeah, 4 chase winners in the past 6 months for Nicky Henderson is just a brutal record, so couldn't have him. None of them convinced me. On Trend, 25 to 1, just off 250 each way on it.
Yeah, it's not a race that I'd be getting into too heavily. I thought Vino Grego was a live outsider, and then
of course it's Gary Horse.
Yeah, well, plus it's an awful race. But then you pointed out he's got no headgear on tomorrow, which would put you off because he is a quirky character. But looking 2 runs ago, he ran actually really well at Ascot when coming 7th to 15. That doesn't inspire, but he needed to run that day, and that was without headgear. He travelled by far the best for a long, long way, and then just dropped away, and he was given an easy time of it on his reappearance. So 16 to 1, if he runs to that kind of form again, he could be an each way player. Obviously, first 3 in the reckoning today. The other one that I wanted to mention is Bally Ali Man, who will likely go from the front for Tom George and Alan Corley. 11 to 1 is a decent enough each way price. He's been running well as of late. He's a very consistent type, but he got thumped for a win. I think it was Wincanton in a 5-runner race and went up about £12 for that. He suffered from that last time out and came 3rd, but still ran, again, an admirable race. I think it was over course and distance as well. So at 11 to 1, I'd be willing to give Bally Ali Man a chance, but they probably leave the finale at Sandown alone. Yeah, I don't think, again, it's a no-bet kind of race for me, but Bally Ali Man would be a tentative each-way selection. Personally, we have Adam back now from somewhere.
Well, explain what's going on. The family were leaving and they were being really loud, so I had to mute the mic and shout "shut up," and it didn't work. I did it about 3 times. I didn't want background noise. Background noise. You can't imagine. I don't think you've ever heard me angrily shouting, so it's, yeah. This race is. It's that exasperating noise I did with Dinas, and Dinas went and proved me wrong in the King George. Union East, if this was the old race, this race used to be run over 3 mile, 5.5 furlongs, I think he'd definitely be the one to beat. But over 3 miles, I just think he runs in snatches, and I think tomorrow could catch him out. And he's another one of these Paul Nicholls staying chasers that I think could require cheap pieces just to sort him out. The one that I'm going to go with, and it is tentative, I thought Tinker Time put up a really good performance in the graduation chase at Newbury, and if he can go on from that again in this handicap, which I think is a weaker race, I thought Easter Day is a good enough yardstick. I think he'd be the one to beat, and I agree with what Callum was saying about On Trend. He is interesting down at the bottom, and he is a course and distance winner as well. But I can't really infuse much about the race. I do think Unionice is a shocking price, and I will say this as well. Where's this 6-1? That I've not seen 6-1 today at all. So good luck trying to get that. Yeah. So Tinker Time's the one for me.
Yeah, and that brings us to the end of the previews today. Sorry, I was preoccupied by lining up the questions that we're going to be doing right now. Basically, and we'll get to naps. Afterwards, first question that I could see is from Jeff Handy. Are we watching the darts?
I was.
We were.
Taylor was on,
now Callum's playing stick cricket.
Yeah.
In professional style as well. A bit earlier on, we had a suggestion for a nap from Chris Heath for Michael. Adam, if you want to reveal that one.
The 250-1 outsider in the chat.
500
earlier. In the Tolworth.
500.
Yeah, it's drifted a bit.
There we go. Let's stick it up. Yeah, you never know. Maybe you can come third if Jolly's practice jumping doesn't hold up. So, who knows?
Imagine if all of them fell and then.
If that one, oh my word, we'd never hear the end of it, would we? Is he worth £2? That's a genuine question. Would it be worth?
No, he's not.
If it wins now.
And you'd be cheering on the same as Animal Aid, and you don't want that. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
We've had a lot of questions about the same thing tonight, in the sense being field sizes, and we've had I think 3 or 4 people asking you with obviously the Tolworth Hurdle when you're attracting 4 runners tomorrow. We've got Skeletor saying if time allows, bigotry opinions on the field size issue. 4 in a Tolworth, a Grade 1 with a 1 to 2 favourite is a pitiful effort. And again, it's something that really has to be cracked. It's a Grade 1 that's got 4 runners in. Obviously, it's a novice event, but
the thing with this race, though, it's always hit a small field. That's
but
the thing.
why?
Yeah,
Why?
I think it's the positioning because of Christmas, and you've got all these races at Christmas. I mean, it's the first week after Christmas, and it's sort of I don't really. Yeah, it's actually a good race.
How many 2-mile grading events are there over Christmas for novices?
None, but it's. I don't know. It's just one of them races that always attract a small field, and I honestly don't know why. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's at a point.
Why isn't someone like Mullins?
Could it be at a point in the season where trainers, if they have a hard race in the Tolworth, they may not get a horse back for Cheltenham? I know that Cheltenham obviously dominates. It's that.
But the one thing that we've commented on Sandown before is prize money at Sandown is 22,000 to the winner tomorrow,
which actually is more than what it's been over the past few years.
Yeah.
In 2008, it was worth a lot more.
I mean, for a Grade 1, would you expect more to have a winner of a Grade 1 2-mile novice?
Other than the novice events, I think that's probably about standard
right.
now. It should be more. Personally, I mean, I think it should be more, but I don't think that's a bad price. It was certainly less when we ran in it. Without doubt, I think it was about 15 or 16 when we were in it. So there should be runners in this race.
Yeah,
should be more.
There's no real excuse.
Trainers just scared to even try their horses outside of Cheltenham, or just because there's a bit of soft ground, or because there's a decent horse in it. I mean, it's just it really annoys me. It really puts me off jumps racing.
We mentioned Willie Mullins. He had 3 in, including Duvan and Telesmore. Telesmore's obviously running on Sunday over 2.5 miles. Duvan.
He had Sempra Medici in it. Yeah, I think Nichols Canyon was entered. So
yeah.
Pretty disappointing he's not brought 1 over.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that coming over from Ireland's a big task for any kind of horse, but for 22,000.
I mean, last year he sent Uparzo over, and you question what's Uparzo done since, and it's nothing.
Sorry to interrupt. Last year, I remember they were going to send Votor over. I don't think they did on account of the ground. So
they had a race on the same day because it was at Kempton next Saturday.
Yeah.
And Votor ran about 20 minutes after the Tolworth. I remember watching it with you. Well, you were very anxious.
Yeah, interesting that. But yeah, it's something that obviously the Mullins clan have obviously discussed before, but it is very disappointing to have any Grade 1 contest, whether it be novice, whether it not be a novice contest, to only have 4 runners in it. Prize money isn't really that bad of an issue. It's not a horrible time of the year as regards to Cheltenham. Obviously, Cheltenham is the highlight of the jump season, but the 22,000 novice hurdle, you're not going to turn it down, are you? So it's not as if you're going to run it in this and then bottom your horse at Cheltenham because it's too soon. We've got still over 2 months to go for it.
I know, but the reason why I said it, if you think about it, some trainers probably think like that. I'm not saying I would. If I had a horse that could go and run in these races, I'd give him his chance.
Again, but again, it's not even. We can't even blame the ground for it. It's on the softer side, but it's not bottomless.
It's actually probably. We'll have to look at it tomorrow, but I think it won't be bad. I mean, Tingle Creek Day, I did think it was bad, but that was because there was frost on the ground and it didn't look appealing, being honest. But it shouldn't be bad tomorrow.
Yeah, I honestly, I'd love to give up a better solution, but maybe something for another time when we've had a bit of time to think about it. Clement Deck, the Northerner, has said, "Good evening, lads. I've got Aurora Destraval at 5 to 4, or 5 divided by 4, as he's gone for. Fixed odds. You think I'll even get close to these odds tomorrow? What price is Aurora Destraval now?"
She's mainly odds on. It's still 5 to 4 with.
I just looked at that race and thought Aurora Destraval was the hands down or easier option. And I'd be disappointed if she was getting beaten in a race like that tomorrow. 5 to 4.
Step up in trip.
Still,
fighting for 5th, 3rd, 4th. It's poor.
Really don't like her.
Arctic Fire did all right for it, I thought, at Leopardstown.
Yeah.
But he's better off a stronger pace, though. So it's
And, I mean, Kay Fleur was impressive earlier on in the season at Sandown, but it's a big step up in class for her.
Mischievous Millie's the obvious thing.
Yeah.
Getting £8 as well, but I mean, she's having her first run of the season.
Yeah.
She should be way too good for that.
I'd be disappointed for her.
I think over this trip as well. I think.
Yeah, I think
is this her first try at this trip?
Yeah, it is.
She'd improve for the step up, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I think
she's much bomb-proof tomorrow.
5 to 4 is a cracking price about her, or if you're Sean Quinn, him. Earlier on Twitter, but I'd be disappointed if Aurora Destraval was getting beat in that field tomorrow. Jamie Brownlow's also sent in a question about the field sizes, and obviously alludes to 4 declared in the Tolworth Hurdle tomorrow. We won't waste more time answering that. Chris Heath, Sandown and Venetia Williams with Aidan Coleman double, Leviathan 18 to 1 in the 3 o'clock, and Relax at 6 to 1 in the 3:35.
Not the worst double in the world.
Leviathan, I was actually going to mention him because he was quite strongly, about 7 to 1, but he was quite well touted for that Snake Eyes race and didn't run any sort of race, and now he's just been totally dismissed in the market, but he's the kind of horse I think can strike again because he was quite impressive at Ascot. So potentially, he's got there's a lot of pace on him in that race. There's a lot of front runners, so I think he kind of maybe needs his own way out in front to be seen at best. But
with the Morialato in the field, you're not really going to get that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Jamie Brown has mentioned not really a solution, more of a something to get rid of it. But in terms of the field sizes, if the BHA is serious, then they should have scrapped it, being the Tolworth Hurdle, or they should downgrade it to a handicap, which would get more runners, or I'm missing the point of the situation. The Tolworth Hurdle used to be a handicap, didn't it?
I think so. I'm not.
A while ago, it used to be a handicap, but I think it was Lydia Hislop was making a point last night. I think it's run over 3 years, and there has to be a certain
standard.
Certain standard of horse, judging by ratings.
It will be a great one because the standard of horse that actually wins this race is actually not bad. I mean, you have Melodic Rendezvous as a recent winner.
Yeah.
Captain Conan's won it, so it's going to stand because you're getting good horses winning the race. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but
Justice Hill was second in it last year. Pendure was second the year before. Palace Squadron. I mean, they're not bad horses.
No,
so.
but just looking through it at the moment, biggest size field since.
They're the ages. They're the ages.
Oh, their ages, are they? Right, okay.
I wish I hadn't said anything now, but
well, they probably are the field sizes as well. At that.
Yeah, melodic. I think it was actually 7 in it. It was an 8, I think, for Breeze. One of those Breeze, I think, was 8 runners or one of those. But then very, very little standard, but it's still better than having 3, which is basically what this field is.
Exactly. I completely agree on that. Private Sean, has said, by how many furlongs does Union East win by tomorrow? Callum? -1.
Interestingly, though, this is the race that Neptune Colon ran in before he went on to win the Grand National.
Damn it, that was my point. I hold on Hugo, didn't he?
This was the race out Neptune Colons for the national win.
Are you going to pick out Union East tomorrow?
Absolutely not.
If it's staying on second.
Pick out On Trend or whatever it is the Callum fancy.
This might need to go over about £20, but
Mully says he's having issues watching tonight due to low sun. Any suggestions there?
Well,
another issue in racing at this current moment.
Somehow.
A sun hat, sunglasses, anything, Mully. Use your noggin on that one. Moving on, Jamie Brown says, I don't agree with this. The Lingfield card looks better than Sandown.
Yeah.
Callum agrees.
I don't agree with that at all, Mr. Brownlow. You would.
Well, it's a good card. I mean, there's one 40-grand handicap on there, so it's all right. I think it's proper stuff. So.
Yeah. Okay. On that, Derek Gamble punt, great name. What horse do you reckon will be the shortest SP at Cheltenham? What should be done to combat these pathetic small fields, and what are we seeing? The shortest SP at Cheltenham, I assume by that we mean the shortest priced winner at the festival, or just the shortest price
SP altogether.
It'll be Faheen, won't it?
You'd be surprised.
And he's power if she makes the mare's hurdle.
Yeah.
Princess Sakura if he bolts up in the Victor Chandler.
Clarence House.
The Clarence House, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Victor. Avizio Veal.
Faheen would be a short price one, as you mentioned. Power as well. Sprinter Sakura if he turns up, and depending what turns up against him as well.
I mean, looks you're pretty bomb-proof one at the moment, doesn't he? So,
Love it. Yeah. There's a few to go around, a few to mull over the ideas. I'd take Faheen at this point because I'm not sure if Annie Power's going to turn up.
Yeah, but definitely Annie Power if she does.
Yeah. Jamie Brownlow, each race selections, if they're declared, they are declared. Wincanton with a 240, Ronaldinho and Blue Buttons. Max Banner, a race has promised so much and delivered so little. Jolly's cracked it is value for obviously Tolworth again. It's a talking point for Tolworth tonight. Do you agree with that? A race has promised so much and delivered so little. I think looking at past runnings,
I think it's expected, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's the sort of fact of it. I think this is the sort of thing you expect with the Tolworth Hurdle.
But looking in the long run, it hasn't delivered so little, but it's delivered some very good horses.
And I'm sure these three will be decent horses in the future. I'm sure Jolly's cracked it looks a chaser. Yeah. Lammy Surge, I think, looks really smart, and Shelford as well. Poor Zoe Davison horse.
It'll be a fun to. No worries about that. Jamie Brownlow, another tip in the 335 each way on Union. Okay, I hope you sent that before price-wise demolished the price from unrealistic 6 to 1.
It's just a typo.
Each way Union Eastern relax. Grounds to suit for both if it does not deteriorate at Sandown. There is a little bit of rain forecast, but not too much, I don't think. And
he's taking the 6s, isn't he?
Yeah, that's him. That's Brownlow's picks, or whatever Brett Racing Nation would make up for that. He's also said downgrade the Tolworth next year and put it as a limited handicap race or a listed race.
But I mean, you've got some take that. I mean, you look at the Jerry Fielden, which is that. I mean, was that a big field?
No.
Never a big field.
8 runners. You tend to get like 8. Between 8
That's
and 10.
a fair amount.
What, in that Lammy Surge race? No. There was like 8, wasn't there? Max.
So, but the point that I was making earlier, they can't just downgrade it like that. It has to be continually bad for.
To be fair, I don't mind small fields. As long as there is 5 or 6 horses with a chance in it.
Yeah.
And when there's 3, I don't think that's enough.
No, as long as there's class there, we're not really going to complain about it too much. There was 8, wasn't there?
8, yeah.
Okay, 8. Decent 8 as well.
The year before with F1, but why not? I mean, that wasn't a big field either.
So I'd say 8 again. But yeah, what I was saying earlier is you can't just downgrade it on 1 year's running. It has to be continually bad on.
It's not, though, is it?
Yeah, exactly, and it's not going to be that because there are good horses turning up, just not in numbers. So it's a talking point. It's interesting. I'm sure it will come under speculation from the BHA, but it's not something that you can just downgrade like that because there's a bad year in it. One last selection from Matt Wynn, Profile Star in the last at Lingfield. Watch its last run. I think I'm tempted to nap against that. So, is it Profile Star for Violet Jordan?
Oh.
Interesting. We'll get that up and we'll watch it as we're going along, Matt. So you'll be able to see our facial expressions on it. Adam, anything else you wanted to add while we're watching the race?
Not really. Oh God.
Well, talk anyway.
I'm not talking. If I talk, you can't see your facial reactions, can we?
It's not a bad thing.
Well, yeah. Well, your facial reactions could be pretty shocked. So.
Being roused along.
Yeah, it's gone very wide.
It's coming.
It's getting a lot of smacks. I give you that.
When's he gonna stop? He can get away.
It's in the final furlong now.
He's not. Either that's the weakest jockey in the world, or
He rode it.
you not even tried on it.
Oh wow.
Oh God.
Well, there's a forecast for you tomorrow then.
Goodness me, that is
16 to 1 as well. Right, okay, there we go. There we
the
go.
most blatant non-trier.
Steve Drown, come on, man. That might put my nap in jeopardy now. Then, with that,
I think so.
If Vernon again, I still take Black Truffle in it. But interesting shout. Interesting shout, Matt Wynn. Well done on that front, and good luck tomorrow with it. Adam, your nap for tomorrow.
A horse I put up in the jumps video to follow. I'm going to nap Fletcher's Flyer. I am a big fan of It's a Close Call as well, but I just think with more experience and Wincanton's a place that suit, I think Fletcher's Flyer's the one to beat.
Yeah. Just out of interest, is there any money for Profile Star? Have you seen?
Maybe for now, I don't think, will there?
It's just to see what price it is and if it'll win tomorrow.
We'll look and I'll check it.
My nap for tomorrow, I'm going to go with. I'll go for a bigger priced one in Fairy Wrath at Sandown in the 115 event, I think it is. It was making its reappearance off 11 months off last time out at Ascot. Got beaten around, I think it's something like 48 lengths, so it got beaten a long way, but ran a lot better than that suggested. Travelled very well and just stopped turning for home. Got beat by a horse called Nice One Frankie, who need no introduction after winning the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup or whatever they want to call it this year at Cheltenham. Second in the race was King Edmund, who's won 2 novice hurdles since and went very close in the handicap chase time after. John Shambo hasn't been seen in third. Al Alpha has also since won, was 4th. So the form is stacking up very well in front. Tom Cannon takes the ride back. If Fairy Wrath is anywhere near his old form, then he's very well handicapped. I think he's £3 lower than his last winning mark. And there's been bits of money for him today, 13 to 2 into 11 to 2 in most places. So Fairy Wrath is the nap for me. You
literally fancy nothing. It's a close call in the first at Wincanton.
Have you just napped against Adam?
Yes,
of all the races, you've both napped in novice hurdles.
Yeah, thought he ran. He looked a really exciting prospect last time over course and distance. I think he can follow up, but his is the danger, definitely.
I get the impression that horse may be in the 2015-16 National Hunt preview.
Which one? It's a close call.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that he could be in there.
Yeah, I mean,
and me as well. I really like him, and I also like another one, a Nichols horse, Arpege Delaine. Half brother to Triola Delaine, a horse that I don't really like. It's a bit weird, really.
A vicious cycle. Yeah, that's done then. for tomorrow. Well done, guys, in napping against each other in a Wincanton novice hurdle.
Watch them both get beaten.
Do you want to put something else up?
No, it's fine. I'm not going to talk about
Put
it.
something else up.
No, it's good.
No, we'll go for your.
At least one of us is a winner, I think.
Yeah, well, if you don't, then you're doing something very, very wrong.
No, I'll put something else up. I'll put singular quest up in the first at Lingfield.
You did put that on Twitter earlier as well.
Yeah.
Down Bryden, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're the naps actually done now. We'll be back next week on Friday at 8 o'clock. Again, we might be on time this time. Probably not. It depends if a question of sport is on once more, because that obviously takes precedence over the videos. But have a good day of betting tomorrow, have a good weekend, and a good week. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.